After another disappointing performance as far as the energy that the Bulls needed to give in the game against the Golden State Warriors, more and more people are starting to come to the realization that there's not a life raft coming to save this team during this season. But where does the focus need to go to? Is it on the players? Is it on the front office? Is it on head coach Billy Donovan? Who has failed this team and thus this city? Shout out if you get the reference. The more. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about updates to the trade rumors around Nikola Vucevic and Lonzo Ball. All that plus more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Bulls are disappointing. And that's not a shock to anybody who's been watching this team for a while. And that's not a shock for anybody who's been watching this program for a while. The Bulls are a disappointing team. And not because just of the losing, it's how they lose. The Bulls continually get outworked and out-efforted by teams on a nightly basis almost. And that is what the biggest slap in the face is in regards to this team, is the lack of effort they continue to perform with on a regular basis. We deserve better from this team, right? Now, outside of just the lack of effort, you got to look at the things that are surrounding that. And it feels like we have kind of a re-up conversation on this once every 3 to 6 months as far as the place of the team and who's at fault for the place of the team and everything going on with the state of the Chicago Bulls. Newsflash, the state of the Chicago Bulls sucks. Seriously, the place that this franchise is in right now, it sucks because this team has talent on it. But once again, as I've said many times before, and I don't want to belabor the point, is that despite what the talent of this team has, despite the seasons from Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine, despite all of that, the Chicago Bulls find themselves near the bottom, right? We are the only team that right now is in the playoffs or the play-in with a less than 20 win total. And we're at 19. Now, I mean, it is what it is. You look at it, the Miami Heat have 2 more wins than the Chicago Bulls right now, 21 wins. Everybody in the play-in area has 23 to 21 wins except for the Chicago Bulls. But even more disappointing than that, the Bulls are 3-7 in their last 10 games since the Derrick Rose night, since the game against the New York Knicks. We are 3-7 since then. And this was a time period where we thought that the Bulls were going to make their determination on their future, on their direction. And here's the thing that I've started to come up with, and I'm starting to realize, and I know I'm a bit late to the party here. I always hold out a form of hope for my squads, for my team. Because that's just who I am, right? I'm going to always hope the best for my team in the Chicago Bulls, but I'm also not stupid. I'm also not blind. I'm also not going to get caught up in anything else but the reality of where this team is. This team sucks. And it's not just because of the players. The players' effort is something to be questioned. The players' effort is something to be disappointed in because we continually see that. And like I said before, as much as I have problems with Billy Donovan and his coach, I would be happy if Billy Donovan was announced being fired as of tomorrow, as of today. Hell, forget tomorrow. Do what you can do. Wait till tomorrow for what you can do today? But even outside of that, Billy Donovan doesn't draw up a single play that means turning the ball over. Billy Donovan doesn't draw up a single play that means, hey, don't try to fight after that rebound and get that second chance point. He doesn't draw up any plays for that. That's down to the effort of the players. But you know what is on Billy Donovan? Is the rotation. It's the rotation. And it's like the Bulls keep being a team that gets caught up in the appearance of being competitive, right? Billy Donovan will cite all day long that players like Matas Buzelis and Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry don't get more minutes because they're trying to win basketball games. And when you see 2 second-round picks against the Golden State Warriors completely light you up, it kind of reminds you, hey, sometimes you just need to let the young guys figure it the hell out. Sometimes you just need to let them be the ones that figure it the hell out because, listen, that's your future. And Billy Donovan has said as much, right? For the Bulls to get out of the middle. Keep in mind, Billy Donovan was the one who a couple of weeks ago said, no, we're in the middle. And we're probably going to be in the middle. The only way we can get out the middle is one of these guys step up, one of these guys develop, and you just can't do it. I'm going to throw a surprising stat out here for you, right? When you look at the best 2-point percentage defended in the league, as far as what is the 2-point percentage that you allow in that time, right? Matas Buzelis is number one. Number one. And I'm not saying that means, when you look at the minutes that Matas Buzelis plays versus the level of talent he's playing against sometimes out there, but Matas Buzelis has the best 2-point defensive percentage in the entire league of players that have played at least 150 minutes. He 42.6%. By comparison to that, Patrick Williams, the player that's right now playing above Matas Buzelis, at nearly 60%. So when you look at it, Matas Buzelis is up there with Nicholas Batum, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kevon Looney, Amen Thompson, Desmond Bane, Kevin Durant, Jeremy Sohan, Ryan Dunn, Kristaps Porzingis, and Malik Monk. Those are the top 9 as far as players who guard the two-pointers the best in the league. Matas Buzelis is right there at number 1. Now, that's going to go down if Matas plays more minutes. But what I'm saying is that you want players to make the most of their minutes, right? And that's how they can earn more minutes. It should be how they earn more minutes, is by how well do they do with the minutes that they have. And nobody, I don't think, will say, hey, Matas listen, Matas leaves some to be desired out there. Matas can get better, make no mistake about it. But, let's be clear here. Matas Buzelis is towards the top of the league in that area. That's something you need to look at for. When you look at, let's take this another place, right? This is why when people say things like, oh, Matas Buzelis can't play over P. Will, when you look at the best defensive field goal percentage at the rim, Matas Buzelis, 54%. Guess what? He's number 1. Number 1. Right up there with Jalen Williams, Kevin Durant, Javonte Green, P.J. Washington, Nicholas Batum, Amen Thompson, Peyton Watson, Cade Cunningham, Brandon Miller. He's right up there at number 1 as far as guarding at the rim. Let's take it another stat, right? When you look at so Matas Buzelis is literally, when you look at his position, he's playing not just good, he's playing some great things. And again, I'm not saying that it should be the end-all, be-all on what's going to make Matas Buzelis some great player, but I'm saying that this is signs that Matas Buzelis should be playing more. You can't use the defense as an excuse for why Matas Buzelis is not playing more minutes. Yes, he needs to grow as a defender. Yes, he's struggling as a defender. But if he is struggling, you're still towards the top, which means that your per-minute production has to be some of the best in the NBA defensively. Play the kid defensively. That's it. Play him defensively. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, right? And you got to look at those things. But let's keep it going a little bit further, right? At a time where the Bulls, clearly, youth should be the thing that the Bulls are, at least if you're not 100% focused on, it should be a focus of where the Chicago Bulls are right now, is youth, right? Billy Donovan isn't using those guys correctly. And I get it. The loud part of the fan base that looks at things and say things like, well, Billy Donovan has to be removed as the coach if you really want to get better. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'll say all day that I don't think that this front office or this ownership group is ready to move off Matas Buzelis. I will say that, right? Because that's truly what I believe. I don't think that this front office is ready to move. I'm sorry, I said Matas Buzelis off Billy Donovan. I don't think that they are. I think that Billy Donovan and the relationship that he has with ownership in Jerry Reinsdorf is going to keep him around the Chicago Bulls for quite a while. But that doesn't mean that he should, right? That does not mean that he should. The Bulls are we have talent on this team. But then let's look at the people that are putting the talent together. The front office. AK and Eversley. Last night, I had a bit of a rant. And I called AK and Eversley and I said they are the Patrick Williams of front offices. And I truly believe that. Patrick Williams right now is the poster child of everything that the Chicago Bulls are doing bad, have struggled at. He's the poster child of it. You could take Patrick Williams' picture, put Benny the Bull horns on him, and he could be the mascot of the state of the Chicago Bulls right now. That's not just to pick on Patrick Williams. That's to be honest with where we are as a franchise. And here's the thing. Maybe this is all by design. We said that it was said that 35 games. That's what we were going to give it. 35 games to figure out who this team was. And maybe now the front office is like, bam, we're just going to ride this out with these guys for the next however many games, and we're going to figure it out from there. And then we'll see what the trade deadline brings us. But until this front office is more aggressive about going out there and getting a direction, going out there and choosing, because what did I say a month or so ago? You can either choose your direction or you can let your direction choose you. That's what you can do. You can either choose your direction or you can let your direction choose you. And by the time your direction chooses you, you're usually too far gone in the sauce to actually be caught up, unless the direction that chooses you is a winning direction. This team right now is struggling in every shape. This franchise, I should say, is struggling in every place that a franchise could. And there's no real, right now, seems like no earnest from this team and the decision makers here to get us out of that. It just doesn't seem like that's the case. So until the Bulls make a decision, until the Bulls really pick a direction, this is what we got, y'all. This is what it's going to be. And the Bulls are going to win some tough games over that time period, but it's going to be a lot of pain between now and the end of the season. There's just no way around it. This is who this team is. No, this team is not one player away. This team is one player away from being 3 players away. Shout out, I stole that joke from the chat. This team is not one, and like I said, and I know I got fired up, if you keep on harping, if you're one of the people but we were number 1 team in the East in 2021-22, 3 years ago, my boy, that's really what you got in the conversation talking about currently 3 years ago. That means nothing for now. Absolutely nothing for where this team is right now. Wake up and smell the roses. Wake up and smell the coffee, whatever it is that you need to smell to wake the fuck up. Wake up and get that feeling in you, because this team has nothing. Let me not say that. We got Zach LaVine. We got Nikola Vucevic. But I think we need to, you know what? It's not even us. It's the front office. Until AK and Eversley realize the mess that they've really put us in and how knee-deep we are in the mess, we're going to stay there. We're just going to stay there. And it is what it is at that point. We'll see what the future holds for the Chicago Bulls. We do know one thing. Coby White is going to miss some serious time, right? That's another thing that's hurt here, right? Coby White with the bone bruise on his ankle. They said that it could be a week, it could be more. And I'll say this, we've seen a bone bruise develop. Now, we've seen the worst of what can happen with a bone bruise, and that was with Lonzo Ball. A bone bruise can develop into something that is extremely bad. It ends up ending your season. We've seen something similar with Patrick Williams with the bone edema, which isn't necessarily the same thing as a bone bruise. I know an edema and a bruise are similar, but they're different injuries. But we saw what the worst of that can happen when Patrick Williams' season ended. Here's what I'll say. If Coby White's season does end, which is a possibility, not likely, I'm not saying that right now, but I do want to prepare everybody for the thing that it is a possible outcome here, is that it does change. If that does happen, if that happens and the season ends for the Chicago Bulls, I'm sorry, for Coby White, it would be a season that, after the expectation and the hope that he was going to pick up off where he left off at last season, it was a mixture of changing his role, his own inconsistencies, and the Bulls deciding to take a player that played and finished and had their best season and say, hey, now we want you to do something different, wildly different. And that's the part that, people like me, I think that's my job to kind of explain just how different Coby White's role was than last year. And it's not just because he's not playing point guard. You made him a jump shooter. You took away the things that he got his offense and got in his rhythm, that you took that away. And then, like I said, it's Coby. Some of that is Coby's fault as well with the inconsistencies that he's had. Those things all end up you in the place where you're looking at Coby White's season and it just comes down to disappointment. And hopefully Coby can make a speedy recovery. Maybe we're talking about him being back on the court in a week or so, but I want to be clear here. There's a chance where we aren't talking about Coby White being on the court again until the beginning of the 2025-26 season. And that's just real. And we'll see what the future holds. But also what the future holds with, as we get into our last segment for today, is updates to the trade scenarios for the Chicago Bulls. So it's come out that the Warriors right now feel like the asking price for Nikola Vucevic is too steep. And I highlight that for now part. This comes from The Athletic that says this. Chicago has been willing to discuss Vucevic, but the price tag has been so far deemed too steep, a league source said, which is typically the case until the deadline is within 72 hours. We will see if the Warriors get any type of transactional business done in the weeks ahead, but their coach and star point guard are making clear the benefit of a stretch center. For now, that has to be lived through the inexperienced Quentin Post. Now, we saw the Quentin Post experience last night, right? He was one of the things that really pushed the Golden State Warriors to defeat the Chicago Bulls in the second half of that game. You look at Post and what he did in this game. 20 points. He had a plus-minus of plus 13. He was 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 10 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And I posed the question over on Locked On Bulls: did the emergence of Quentin Post make it more likely or less likely for the Warriors to trade for Nikola Vucevic? Shout out to Pat. He pointed out, well, maybe it makes it more likely for the case that you can bring in Vooch, who is the realized version of what Post could be, and you could have him mentor him for another season and a half, and then see by time with Vooch's expiring contract at the end of next year, if that ends up if Post then can use that time to turn into the player that the Warriors do need, and the Warriors roster may be in a different spot by then, right? So the Warriors, the Bulls asking price being too steep right now, deemed too steep, they should be, right? And I love that they do point out, The Athletic points out in this article, well, that can last for up until about 3 days before the trade deadline. Then teams start getting, and that's what teams are trying to do. They're trying to wait out the Chicago Bulls to see if the Bulls get so desperate to make a move, they're willing to say, all right, bet, we'll take what you had. Or is it that the Bulls hold true to what their value is, and teams like the Warriors say, all right, bet, we'll give you the first round pick. Just send us Vooch. We really do need Vooch. It's a game of chicken right now, right? But it is this is the next report added to the fact that it's a real possibility that Nikola Vucevic is on the Golden State Warriors by the end of the trade deadline. And I'll say this, like, I get it that people are asking, like, and listen, I already know there are going to be some Bulls fans that start typing, well, can we get Post in the trade? Listen, come on. Come on. Like, they're not going to give up the young guy that's showing a lot of flashes at a time period where they've already talked about they don't want to mortgage their future. But I will say, man, for those that are asking, well, where does this leave the Bulls in their center rotation? It leaves it in a place that it sucks. But I don't think that the Bulls are really worried about that at this point in the season. If they're moving on from Nikola Vucevic at the trade deadline, roster balancing construction is the least of the Bulls' worry. And I think by the trade deadline, by the time we reach that trade deadline, the Bulls will have like 38-ish games left, and maybe even be lower than that, 35-ish games left. And I tell you what, if we just don't have great center balance for 35 games, that's okay. It's all right. Right? It's okay if they don't have that for that, because if you're getting the picks and the value that you hold for the player, it's all worth it. Now, will the Bulls get that? That's the biggest question here. And will, by them trying to wait out the Golden State Warriors, will the Golden State Warriors pull the trigger on another deal rather than Nikola Vucevic if they can feel they can get some things off cheaper? Yes, you run the risk of that, and we'll see what happens. But as of right now, it seems like the Golden State Warriors are looking at the price that the Chicago Bulls have for Vooch, and they're saying, it's a little bit too rich for our blood right now. The right now part is the important part of that. That's the important part of that. And we'll see how it continues to go for the Bulls. This is a story that's we're going to continue to monitor. Again, I try to maintain the latitude to make sure I tell everybody, just stay calm. The Bulls may not do anything at this trade deadline, but again, if they do, it seems more and more likely that Vooch is one of those pieces moves if the Bulls do get to a place of wanting to just make moves to clear out and clear the direction for their roster, as well as make their cap sheet a little bit more clean as well. Another one of those players continues to be Lonzo Ball as well, with the Bulls putting out, this is again from The Athletic, saying this: why would he potentially be available? Ball is on an expiring contract worth $21.4 million before becoming an unrestricted free agent. The Bulls are thought to be very happy with Ball and love having him around the team for his presence in the locker room. It's unclear whether Ball can play a full schedule. He has not played in back-to-backs this season and has yet to log more than 26 minutes in a single game, although it's worth that his minute load has gone up as the season has progressed. That probably points him being more of a high-impact bench player long-term. So seems like, and this is built around the conversation started around the Lakers, right, and their interest in Lonzo Ball. The Bulls right now, of course, they should be. This is the first time I think the Bulls are kind of playing the trade deadline right, putting out the notion, hey, no, we're happy. We're happy with Lonzo Ball. We love Lonzo Ball. And I do think that's true, right? That should be true. Lonzo has a positive impact. He's good. He has that mood. All that thing is good for the team. But they're putting out the feeling, no, we love Zoe. We love Zoe around here. So if you want Zoe, you're going to have to really try to get him from us because we love Lonzo Ball. We have this huge asking price for Vuce. You're calling us. You want Vuce. Listen, it's going to be a first-round pick. No, we're not coming down in 2 seconds. We need that first. The Bulls are putting out the fillers and the message that the value that they hold for their players is high right now. And this is what they should be doing. And so let's hope that continues, that the Bulls continue to play this smartly, and then it can lead the team in the place where it needs to be. It remains to be seen how well they're going to continue to do that, but there is hope that they're doing that. And that's what we'll see here for the Chicago Bulls. How much longer do they continue to hold out and keep that value high for their players? Will the Bulls be buyers, sellers, nothingers at the trade deadline? I still bet on nothingers, but there is that possibility there that the Bulls do start making moves. And I do think if the Bulls make one move to where they get good value in, I think that that's going to start the dominoes falling for the Chicago Bulls. I really do think that the Bulls have some offers that could like all work together in tandem, but they need to make sure one's going to go through first, right? And then if they do that, I think there could be a series of deals, smaller ones. I'm not saying that this is a huge deals like the Zach LaVine for the 2 second-round picks and Bradley Beal, but I do think if you move Zoe, you get a first-round pick. Move Vuce, you get a first-round pick. You then move Zoe, you get 2 seconds or a first-round pick, and then maybe Torrey Craig's gone for another second-round pick. I think those type of moves could snowball into it, and that the Bulls just make a series of moves which end up on them moving some of the assets that they know that weren't part of their long-term plan and getting some assets back that are long-term assets. And then they'll make decisions on the rest of the roster at the draft, which the Bulls still have the 9th worst record in the league. They have the 9th best chance in the lottery. And typically when you have the 9th, you have a pick like that, you actually end up keeping your pick more times than not. Again, betting on luck for the Chicago Bulls is it's always kind of scary to do. So, that's something as well. But it seems like the Bulls are in a pretty good position to keep their pick. And we'll see what the future holds. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.